I'm pretty good. Yourself? Like always, World of Warcraft. Unfortunately, I'm an addict. Still doing the daily puzzles in Professor Layton, and then I'm playing. I'm. I should never admit this, but I'm playing How to Train Your Dragons: Rise of Berk on the iPad. It's a freemium game. I refuse to pay any money to it, but it's still fun to kill time. And then I'm playing Hearthstone on the iPad mostly. I play some on the computer, but mostly on the iPad. I just like the controls of the touchpad better than using the mouse on a card game. It feels more like playing a card game than using a mouse does. Um, and then I've still playing Drakengard on PS3. Okay, I like the game. It's just absolutely terrible. And I can't take more than one level a day, and it's turned into more one level a week now because it's so bad. But yeah, the story saves it slightly enough that I haven't popped back in Tales of Symphonia since I got this one. But yeah, it could have been so much better, and Square Enix should be embarrassed by putting that game out. Oh yes, but Yeah, that's the one you just posted. And then I had one for what was the other one I did the week before? End of Evaporation. Newer stuff, yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Oh. Treehouse won E3 to me. I mean, just the live streaming from Treehouse was probably the best presentation of materials, even though it was over 3 days and not in a 2 hour compact thing. I think it was the most I enjoyed watching the information come at me. I didn't even watch it until I started watching most of the Treehouse stuff yesterday. Before the Spurs won the championship. Sorry to Miami. I'm a San Antonio fan. I live there, so I had to throw that out there. And also, congrats to the USA team winning 2-1 to Ghana earlier today. But the only thing I watched at Treehouse last week was the Amigo thing that was right after their press conference. And yeah, oh, oops. Um, and the Nintendo Direct was lame. There's no other way to put it. They'd have done the same thing if they did a conference, except without the claymation. They'd have had developers come out and talk. I felt it was boring, and then the Treehouse thing after was okay. So I really didn't watch the Treehouse stuff. And then one of my friends um, told me about Fantasy Life and said I'd probably be interested in it. I should watch, the Treehouse coverage of it. So I went and looked at that, and that was pretty cool. And then I started watching some of the other ones and saw Codename Steam in action. Oh my god, that game looks amazing. But the idea that they had where you got 40 minutes of a game. Some of them are a little shorter, some of them are a little longer, but most of them are about 40, 45 minutes. at least the ones that I've had a chance to watch so far. And you got, sometimes the developers came out and would tell you about the games. Sometimes it was just the people at Nintendo Treehouse, which is basically their playtesters, um, really fancy playtesters, but testing out the game, telling you some of the things they've noticed in the game, um, going from there. Like in Fantasy Life, which is an RPG where you have 12 different classes and you can go to town and switch classes anytime you want. And then you go out into the world and do different things. Like there's a lumberjack, there's a miner. Okay, I think they call it a woodcutter, not a lumberjack, but whatever. Things like that. And there's, the main overarching story that goes throughout. And then each individual, they call them lives instead of jobs, has their own stories, and then there's town people who give you side quests as well. And one of the people tells you, like, don't wake up the nap dragon. Very aptly named, because it's napping all the time. And, of course, the first thing every RPG player is going to do is wake up the nap dragon, just to see what's going on. And everybody I think there were 3 people on that panel, and all 3 of them said they woke it up immediately, because normally when a video game tells you not to do something, that's a big hint to go do it. And they're doing no damage to it, with all their big moves, and then all of a sudden they're dead, and the dragon goes back to sleep. But I mean, and then later in the game you finally get your revenge on it, and they said this game has a lot of things like that. There's like a mountain, what was it, a panther looking thing. They were just playing and discussing other things when they went through, and the guy playing goes, oh yeah, and I gotta get my revenge on this thing real fast. So there's a lot of just hard mini bosses scattered throughout the world as well. So I mean, that sounds like a game that obviously I would be into, so I'm cautiously optimistic about that one. I think everybody does. I don't know that that's a fair. I, yeah, it's toys that go into a video game. I'll give it that, but after that, the comparisons really differ to me. Um, First off, both Skylanders and Disney Infinity are also going to get tech that will, you can just set it directly onto the Wii U pad, and then you don't have to buy at least my understanding is that you wouldn't have to buy the starter pack to start playing on Wii U. You'd be able to just figure, put it on the pad, and go, and then buy the game separately, as if you already had a starter pack on another system. So that's cool, and I did want to point that out. But could it revolutionize the Wii U? Absolutely. If games started really giving me a reason to go out and buy them, Smash Brothers is basically going to be kind of like a testing the water thing. Let me save my character's skill set. Let me save my me to it. Things like that. Oh yeah, it'll help me in the game. I can summon it, and it'll help me in Smash Brothers. But I'm not sure that's enough to make me go out and buy. I've seen at least 13 different figures right now. I might buy one to try it, but I don't see myself buying 13 of them for Smash Brothers. And they're going to have to give me... And the games that they've put it with, I don't think are going to revolutionize anything with it. They're going to have to give me some sort of game where it really... It has to be an amazing game, and the amiibos have to really, really make the experience better.
And I agree with you on that, but I also think pricing structure is going to be an issue as well. Since it has included tech with it, pricing it above $20 per.
Even that is out there.
Yeah, even that is like you said, out there. Because right now, the standard pricing is usually what map pricing is about $15 per Disney Infinity piece or Skylander.
And you can catch them on sale for $10 or buy one get one free all the time. Yeah. So I mean, you're really about $8 to $10 unless you're somebody who jumps out there. Has to have every piece the first day.
And during the holiday season, they go buy one get one half off. The starter sets usually go about half off and what have you. But Nintendo, in order to compete with those entities, are probably going to have a similar pricing structure or sales structure. But the regular MSRP, if it goes above $20, I think it might
dead
not
in the water.
Yeah, it might not bode well
even
at all.
At $20, I think it's dead in the water. It probably needs to be a little bit cheaper, even though it has more technology in it. To get the foot in the door, they need to... I know they've announced that there's an adapter coming so that you can use it on your 3DS, but they need to start showing me some of the games that are going to do it, even if that game is 2 years out.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if that were a way to deliver DLC, I might do that. That might be kind of cool. Every character you buy for Smash Brothers has an extra map on it. Something like that would be pretty compelling to me to go out and buy a couple of them. More than just... Obviously, I'm going to buy probably Mario, Link, and one of the Fire Emblem characters, whichever one looks coolest once it comes out. But I don't see myself going out and buying all of them unless you give me a really compelling reason to do it. And, like I said, maps on Smash Brothers, or an extra move on Smash Brothers that nobody else can get. I know they kind of want to keep that game competitive, so they don't need to really mess with Smash Brothers. It's an amazing game.
I would assume they would do more.
I
would assume they would do more costuming and things of that nature, as opposed to an extra move set, what have you. Because, like you said, it would upset, I believe, the balance of the game, which they're trying to make, try to deal with so carefully. Because I know that's the first thing that's going to be gauged once the actual full game gets released.
Absolutely. Because right now, from everything I've heard from, the testers and whatnot, Zero Suit Samus is just killing it.
Yeah. And usually, from past experience, one or two characters
is always overpowered.
Players gravitate towards, and it just inevitably happens in each time, no matter what Nintendo can do, or in regards to that. One of the other things that Reggie spoke about was that they did not think
the Twitch thing.
The Twitch thing. Now, with the release of Mario Kart, they did institute, if you are part of the Nintendo program and you sold your soul away, the chance to upload some of your videos to YouTube. When asked to expound upon that and include Twitch as a streaming service and the possibility being added to Wii U, again, paraphrasing what Reggie said, was that he indicated that Twitch, in their minds, being Nintendo, would only be attractive in certain formats, like on a professional gaming level, or something of a real competitive and eye-catching nature, as opposed to just what I do. What other
the average player?
Yeah, the average player.
Nobody wants to watch the average player for 30 minutes at a time.
That's according to his. He says that is not fun. That is not entertaining, and that's why Twitch will, in that type of format, will never be added to the Wii U. What are your thoughts on that?
First, I think when he said it, he said that it was the Japanese who said that he was just the mouthpiece on that one. I could be wrong, but I think that's the one where he basically said, "I'm just the mouthpiece on this. Don't kill the messenger," even though, of course, we all are, because nobody wants to get mad at Miyamoto or anybody over in Japan, because they're all our gods, basically. And so, Reggie's getting the fall.
Not Iwata.
Yeah, not right now.
No.
But I know where they're coming from. It really is not typically fun to watch an average or a bad player play a game and tell you what's going on. That people who have more followers and watchers, live at least, tend to be the ones who are maybe not pros, but decent at the game and really good at shoutcasting. They know when things are going boring. They know when things are getting exciting, and it feels like you're watching a Mexican announcer at a soccer game when you don't speak Spanish. You just get that feel of, oh my God, something awesome is happening, even though you don't know what they're saying half the time. Mm-hmm. I think it should be an option. If I want to stream on Twitch and have no viewers, I should have that option. If I want to stream on Twitch and I'm good enough to have 1 million viewers, that should be my option too.
Because you never know what people might find entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody who is average at the game starts out doing their thing on Twitch, and because you have to really know, to be someone that's enjoyable to watch, you really have to know what's going on. And so you learn the game and you get better at the game. It just, to not give me that option is annoying. To say what he said, though, in that no one really wants to watch an average person play, I agree with. I've watched StarCraft for going on 15 years now. I've watched StarCraft 2 a lot more, and I like watching the pros because they give you ideas of, build orders and what works and what doesn't work within the game. An average user, it's normally, I could just tape myself doing it and watch it back. Mm-hmm. But that's me. Somebody else may want to watch the average player because that's where they learn from, or that average player enjoys putting themselves out there playing the game as an average player. And that's totally fine. I'm not going to say that they can't do that, but Nintendo did say that, basically. And even the pros on a Nintendo system can't do it. I mean, yeah, they did do Treehouse over E3 all on Twitch. They did the Smash Brothers tournament, which was amazingly awesome and amazingly lame at the same time. I don't know how to describe that, but it was on Twitch. And they think that's where they need to go is, just do more tournaments and things like that. And while I agree they should definitely do more tournaments, and they should get a lot better format than what they had, because that was just weird. But to only do tournaments and things like that is quite lame to me.
I just think myself, for someone who does Twitch, also to Jamie, to Nick, to Chris, to Corey, to all those individuals who do Twitch, to Sam, and who still would like to use Twitch in the future, who possibly do either have or are interested in utilizing the Wii U at some point in time. It's to me it's something of a detriment, and I just think it even though it may not be your cup of tea. It may not be
someone else's. I will agree. It should definitely be an option, and they shouldn't come out and say we're not going to do it. It should be, we're looking into how to best implement it at the moment.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, for a long time, PS4, people wanted to integrate YouTube PS4, and that's just finally they just PlayStation listened to their fans. And by the end of the year, we'll be implementing YouTube as far as the PlayStation 4 is concerned, which I think was a great step. And I'll hopefully be able to integrate that into the share button, which makes it even a better experience for people. So they're showing themselves way ahead of the ball game, whereas, again, Nintendo 4
is behind the 8 ball like always.
Like always. And it's just, sometimes I just don't think Nintendo gets it. And I don't think sometimes they ever will, and it's just very sad because they were such once a proud, outstanding company. But that leads me to my third item that Reggie was discussing with the press at various points in time in E3, is that he was inferring that leaving E3 that clearly the Wii U was standing toe to toe with the PlayStation 4. And was a clear second in this head-to-head battle of this next generation, leaving the Xbox One in the dust. I'm not personally agreeing with that. I still think that outside of just small glimmers of hope being Mario Kart, Super Smash, and Amiibo, that after that the cupboard gets a little bare for Nintendo and the Wii U. So I don't clearly put them in that stratosphere at this point in time. What are your thoughts on that? Like I said, I totally respect your opinion on that if that's wrong. I understand sales-wise that Xbox One lifetime, Wii U and the Xbox One are pretty much on an even par with each other. But again, it's like the PS3 and Xbox 360, where PS3 started a year late. In this case, the Xbox One started a year after. So I would clearly position them at number 3 behind PlayStation and Xbox myself. But what are your thoughts?
If, as of right now, Nintendo is in second, I could believe that. In sales, directly on sales, because a lot of times when the numbers come out, it's PS4 sales to customers, and Xbox 360 a couple million behind shipped to retailers.
Talking about Xbox One, correct?
Xbox One. And PS4 and the Wii U. I'm going to confuse them. Listeners, I'm an idiot. Get over it. But yeah, Microsoft is wording their press releases very specifically most of the time to say we've shipped this many to retailers, so we're only $2 million behind PlayStation.
I believe
PlayStation sales.
I've pretty much what I've investigated and dug up that they are over 5 million sold, not shipped, 5 million sold on Xbox Ones. I know that they've said it's been the highest 5.5 million, 6 million shipped, but yes, it is. I've from various other outlets and whatnot, it is, I believe, at the 5 million mark right now. So
yeah, I'm just saying I could believe that Nintendo is like 4 units ahead of them right now. The holiday season, that's gonna change.
I think once that Halo collection comes out, which will make it attractive for people that have are feeling nostalgic for any reason, because it wasn't me who said this, but people are paying for backwards compatibility in this life cycle. And that's just the way it is. You're not getting it for free anymore. You're going to get it either by renting it via PlayStation Now or buying it outright, like a repackaged Last of Us or what have you. So I believe.
The Wii U gives you backwards compatibility. Sorry.
No, but but even then, with this backwards compatibility, you're still paying for it as far as with downloading. But the prices are a lot cheaper. In a lot of instances, I will give you that on Nintendo Wii U.
Well, you can play the Wii discs. I mean, you can straight last gen put the Wii disc in and play it on the Wii U.
But how many Wii games are there outside of maybe Xenoblade Chronicles and some other JRPGs which were of excellent quality on the Wii? Out of all those thousands of shovelware titles that you and I
a dozen, maybe.
So
maybe a dozen games out there that people would have held on to and still be playing.
So with that backwards compatibility, quote unquote, that the Wii U has, you might want to put an asterisk on
but it is there.
Yeah, true. I'll give you that. And plus, obviously, the fact that they have a lot of older Nintendo titles now that they are putting up there, and Nintendo Remix. The NES Remix titles, those two titles that have come out make it quite enjoyable for nostalgic fans to embrace the Wii U. So you would clearly still position Nintendo as the number 2 in this.
No. I'm just saying I could believe when he said it that the numbers, if we only looked at the sales numbers, I could believe that Nintendo was like 3 or 4 units ahead of Microsoft.
But even at the end of the year with Super Smash coming out, you still see them being overlapped by Xbox One by that point in time.
Unless Smash Brothers is like, the second coming of gaming, yeah, I'm pretty sure Microsoft is going to pull ahead.
You think they'll do a price cut? I think they should. I've written that in one of my articles, most recent articles on my page.
It'll be 2 years old by that point, so probably. Or they'll do like a big ass bundle with like Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, Nintendo Land, maybe even a 4th game, and keep it at that same price point. But otherwise, they're going to need like $100 price cut.
Would you see them ditching the gamepad like the Kinect was ditched?
No.
You really think they're hard on that gamepad?
Well, there's so many games that the gamepad is semi-essential for. Unfortunately, they just haven't done enough with it. They needed a top-tier RPG to come out on that system, and all your inventory management was from the gamepad, and you could do it on the fly. That to me would have sold the system as, this is why we need this. A lot of the stuff that they've been doing with the DS on the bottom screen, they could be doing on there, but a lot of the games just aren't doing it. It's like they're scared to put gamepad functionality in, because people are going to think that the whole game is a gimmick based on that. Kind of like I have felt most Kinect games are. You've got I have the original Kinect, so most of this is going off that and not the Xbox One's Kinect 2. But, you've got games like Mass Effect, where Mass Effect 3 was a game, and they tacked on Kinect usage with it, and it sucked. I specifically bought the Xbox version because it had Kinect, and I had played the first 2 on it because the original one was exclusive to the 360, but that's beside the point. But, I bought that, and I'm like, okay, this could be really cool. But it sucked. It did not work. We live in Las Vegas. It's 120 degrees outside. There are fans on in my room. It can't hear me. No matter what sensitivity I put it on, even just my ceiling fan, it cannot hear me at all.
Well, it's an interesting dichotomy what you were talking about, alluding to, as far as Microsoft paying for things such of that nature, because here you have, on one side, you have PlayStation 4 that's selling like gangbusters, but you have a company that cannot really, really back it up to its true potential because of the money shortages that they're suffering through. And then you have Microsoft, who has to recover now from all the PR fiascos from last year. They're finally on the right track in a lot of gamers' eyes. They do have still an abundance of cash that they can put into the unit as far as for upgrades, fixing, and also exclusive gaming that no one else can offer because they can provide more cash to publishers, distributors, and studios in order to get that. And then you have Nintendo. And Nintendo's such a wild card at this point. Yes, they do have the war chest, but the war chest with every year gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And their stubbornness and where they think they are in the video game universe seems to get larger and larger and larger, which is even more annoying. So I think that at times their own stubbornness stunts their own growth as far as the company is concerned. So you have that opposing diametric there. And could you just elaborate to me your thoughts on it? Because sometimes it just irritates me that Nintendo could be so much a bigger player in the universe right now if it's just able to see through its own mistakes.
Absolutely. Nintendo feels like our games are so amazing, we don't need anybody else, so screw you. If you want to put it on our system, sure. But we're not going to go out of our way to try and get you to put it on here. Mm. And that attitude, they have a very traditional Japanese attitude. Change is bad. We don't want to change. And you can see that in a lot of the Japanese companies that have been having issues in the age of the internet, especially.
Yeah. No doubt.
How many companies from when, you and I were kids that were like household names are no longer around, mostly because they refuse to change. A lot of camera companies aren't around anymore because they just wanted to use film. They didn't want to go digital. And the companies that went digital, are doing extreme, well, not quite so much with cell phones now, but the 10, 15 years before that were doing quite well.
Of course. No, I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's
a lot of those camera companies are now making phones.
But it is, it is based in Japanese tradition, and sometimes that's, as we've said it before on this podcast and before in articles, sometimes it's just very difficult to overcome tradition because it's so rigid in that culture, and how beautiful and wonderful that culture is. To me, when I observe it, the rigidity sometimes of and stubbornness sometimes is to their detriment because they can put that culture and that consumer base and that product base can produce such great games and such a great level of quality when they get together and to make absolutely awesome games, and it's just sad that sometimes that their own stubbornness gets in their way and they're not able to go ahead and evolve. Nintendo, Sony is starting to learn from their errors from the PlayStation 3 area, and also bled their problems with the PlayStation 3 and whatnot bled over into other areas as far as where they progressed or did not progress as a company. But I'm glad to see that they're on the right track. The problem is with them, how long can the PlayStation 4 sustain its success
without some major exclusives?
Yeah, that's just took the words right out of my mouth. Right there without some major exclusive. They're just hanging on for dear life until 2015 because right now it looks like that. By the end of the year, they'll still have the lead, but by the end of the year, will they be winning on a month-to-month basis? Time will tell.
That's how last gen went, though. Really, when the 360 came out, almost a year before anybody else, there was nothing on that system. Perfect Dark was their biggest launch title, and it was horrible.
I agree.
And it took until Gears of War came out.
I would disagree with you.
Everybody went crazy for the 360 at that point.
Well, I agree with you there, but I disagree with you on the fact that was the first quality game. I think Oblivion came out first, and I thought that was the real first quality game on the 360.
At that point, though, most people were going to be would have played that on PC. That was more of a PC game at the time than a console game. And it took until
it evolved. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion stayed on the charts for years.
Yes.
A steady seller that just month after month sold very strongly.
But it took people getting the system for other games, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think Oblivion or Skyrim was ever a system seller.
I think Skyrim
it was a must-have game if you had the system, to me.
I think Skyrim was initially in its first, during that holiday season. But as far as Oblivion, you're right on that. But it sold very, very strongly overall once the dust had settled. But ultimately, PlayStation 3 has worldwide sales, and sometimes we in the American media and games seem to have a tendency to just think solely in American terms, that the 360 has dominated the past couple of years. They might have in the North American market, but overall worldwide sales, PlayStation 3 has surpassed the 360. And I think, when all is said and done, obviously the Wii is the most successful of the three units in that lifespan, but I think the PS3 will still get support now that the 360 is been pretty much given up for dead by Microsoft and
everybody but EA basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just think it's E3 for us was surprising. I said once you weeded through all the layers of dirt for Nintendo, you were able to find some real good things. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad
that
to see
Treehouse stuff was. They needed to mention those games. Like I want to say, Codename Steam wasn't even announced until day 2, I believe, of the convention. At least from Nintendo to the internet. And that game looks really, really fun.
Well, I'm glad it really just, Nintendo did come back into good terms with you, and you ended up pre-ordering a few of those games.
Yeah, I ended up pre-ordering Codename Steam and Fantasy Life today after watching the Treehouse versions of them. I don't know that I'll keep the Fantasy Life one. I may cancel that right before it comes out. It really just depends on the game, which it should. But I'm fairly sure I'm going to keep Codename Steam, even if, like Drakengard, everybody says it sucks, because that type of gameplay to me is fun. It's very reminiscent of Valkyria Chronicles, which I picked up both of them that came out in the US, and I loved them. And I still play the PSP version. It's the only reason I still charge my PSP once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while.
Now, I want to get your thoughts on this before we go any further, because you were talking about the handheld and PSP, mind you.
Yeah.
I'm a Vita owner. What were your thoughts on...
Poor you.
Yeah, poor me. What were your thoughts on the PlayStation Vita really not seeing as much love as a lot of PlayStation Vita owners, like me, getting? Now, mind you, there's a lot of little titles that are going, onto the system, and a lot of independent developers absolutely love the Vita and uses that as its platform. And the PlayStation Vita, for all intents and purposes, will stay somewhat viable just specifically because of that. For if you're looking for a gaming system handheld that really will incorporate a lot of different smaller titles, as far as it's concerned, that you could probably only get really on Steam, because a lot of the iOS and Android systems really can't handle some of the games that are on the Vita. It's for you, but if you're looking for,
it's a very big if.
And it's not going to. It's no longer, trying to cater itself to a mass market, which is a shame. Instead, it's catering itself to a much smaller, centralized market to gamers based off that, because you're not hearing or seeing any major names or titles being attached to the Vita at this point in time, which is somewhat disconcerting if you're a Vita owner like me.
Yeah.
But tell me your thoughts. 3DS still has some more viable life in it than the Vita, but do you see anything as far as hopeful for Vita owners or someone who is interested in becoming a Vita owner that needs to be tipped over into that side?
Kind of. First, the really scary thing is there were PSP games, original PSP games, announced at E3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary that they're going to just completely forgo the PS Vita and make a game for the PSP, which I know they quit making it a while ago.
It was
I can't even
was it
name
Final
any
Fantasy
other game.
Realm Zero?
No. Final Fantasy Type 0 is PS4, Xbox One.
Yeah, it was bypassed. It was bypassed by the Vita.
Totally skipped over it.
Yeah,
and it was originally a PSP game in Japan years ago.
Okay.
They finally announced the American translation, and it's only on next-gen consoles. And Sony, in their infinite wisdom, on, I want to say, their Twitter account, might have been Facebook, I don't remember, announced that it was coming to PlayStation Vita, and then within an hour retracted it and apologized. Well, at that point, JRPG fans are insane, I will admit it. We are. And they were like, no, we're not going to buy this game. Square Enix, you screwed up by saying it was going to be on the Vita, even though it was Sony. We don't care about facts. We just like to bitch. And they're saying they're not going to pick up the game because of it. Well, why would Square Enix take the time to translate a game on a system that very few people buy games for?
Mm-hmm.
Tales of Hearts R is probably the biggest game to me that's coming on that system. Freedom Wars also looks really good. It's kind of a Swords and Soldiers clone, and I liked that. So, there are some PS Vita games that look interesting, but is it really worth buying a system to play Steam games? Or that probably could be put on the 3DS. Maybe not graphically, but most gameplay things could be pulled off on it. And if I have a Vita, odds are I have a DS. Because if I have a Vita, I'm a portable gamer. So I probably have a 3DS. I think publishers are not seeing the draw to the Vita. All the unique features that it has, has the exact same problem the original PSP does. No one cares.
Yeah.
It's not quite a handheld experience, but it's not quite cool enough to be a console experience either. It's a bad bastardization of the two of them, and it just doesn't. It has its niche, but it's kind of way over in the timeout corner. It's not something anybody really wants to talk about.
And I don't know how much more remote play is a draw. Will be a draw for it. For PlayStation 4 or PlayStation. I believe.
The GameCube did that, and no one besides me did it. I'm the loser who has 4 GameCube to Game Boy Advance cables.
Yeah.
But nobody really is going to do that. And it might be cool to play my PS4 games when I'm out and about, but not every game does it. And not every game does it well that does do it.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I said even though I am a Vita owner, I am concerned as far as it getting the necessary support it should. But it is a system that's caught between a rock and a hard place, and will continue to be as such until either gets a price drop or some major support and weight behind it, which I don't think is going to be coming anytime soon.
No, it would cost Sony way too much money to do it. But I think they were very stupid for even releasing it. They made the exact same mistakes they did last gen.
Yeah, and I remember Ken Levine promising a BioShock for it because he was so intrigued by the Vita. Yeah, that's not showing up anytime soon. So,
oh, no.
No. And I'll just leave E3 with your final thoughts on exactly who you thought was promoted the best at E3 between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Once all is said and done, for me, like I said, I thought Sony did very well outside of that
half hour that everyone slept through.
Yeah, that dead spot. I think the fact that they promoted a lot of games. Even more so than Xbox did, was promising for them. But Xbox really just had a solid, safe E3 without trying to make any major waves or major controversy, and they just promoted games, and I think they did when they needed to do. The game of the show for me is No Man's Sky. I really like that concept. As much as I want to see Mass Effect, I want to see Star Wars Battlefront, Mirror's Edge 2, Uncharted 4, which, I'm a huge Uncharted fan, even going way back when to 2007. I think the intrigue of No Man's Sky is just the allure of the potential of hopefully that will come to fruition if this game ever gets released. But between you and I, Aaron, I really think that this one reeks of and smells of, one of those games. Well,
The Last Guardian.
It just, you see it and you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and in order to, then the developers are talking this grandiose plans about, let's say you and I play, you're on one planet, I start off on my planet, and, it's just whole universe of different planets and whatnot that people will migrate from when you can do everything on these planets, or just go and blast off to another planet or get in the middle of a space fighting war and all that. It just seems so grandiose, and I'm hoping it does come to fruition. I'm hoping their vision does come to light, but I'm very skeptical on it. But I'm going to call it my game right now. I'm going to call it my a game of the show for me, and I think overall that there was no real super duper winner for me.
No.
And no one really stood out. I just think all three played it safe, and I think all three did a fairly good job in doing so.
Well, to me, it's comparing it to school. It was okay. Here's a syllabus of what we're gonna be doing for the semester, and all three companies took their syllabus and did the absolute minimum to pass. I mean, to me, they were all On Monday and Tuesday, they all got C minuses. You know, yes, they did do what I wanted them to do. They showed games, but they showed me Call of Duty, Dragon Age, you know, Uncharted, Halo, Assassin's Creed. Nothing that surprised me. Nothing that made me go, holy crap, I need to rewind this and watch it again.
Exactly.
They coasted through it to me, you know?
I think No Man's Sky was the closest for me on that, but I think there was, we had seen No Man's Sky somewhat before, so it wasn't like it was totally out of left field.
Yeah.
But there was just nothing that even the new IP announces, nothing that would make you do backflips. And I think if everybody had gotten The Last Guardian with a release date,
if it's not canceled.
If it's not canceled.
God, that controversy was fun too.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to report on and hear of IGN's demise, and they were, it's a feeding frenzy and a shark frenzy out there between the gaming journalists. Between all these
absolutely
between
in
all these
any journalism, it's like that. You got to be the one to break the story, and even if it's not quite real, let's go ahead and do it anyway. Especially internet,
especially Russia.
Well, yeah,
that's where they got the story from originally. So, quote unquote, from Russia.
From IGN Russia, from a source that they've used many times before, and they even called Sony Russia, who confirmed it. According to the apology.
Exactly.
At least that was how I read the apology.
Exactly.
So, it was just... I mean, Mario Maker was cool. That was probably, to me, the biggest out-of-left-field thing. Of the main 5 conferences. That was the biggest reveal to me, what was Mario Maker. I'm in shock we didn't see Star Fox during that. Especially since we knew...
It was played behind the scenes.
Yeah, it was behind the scenes. So, but nobody really reported on the behind the scenes stuff.
And all these entities said, oh, we played Star Fox. We've been in Star Fox. Even we at GameSource got to report, hey, we saw Star Fox at the Nintendo booth.
Well, yeah, we saw it. We can't. There's no information on it besides it was there.
Exactly. So it's
kind of that to me is the biggest. I mean, you can have one really, 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 really big one like that, per company, and that's all you're allowed is one. And there's so many of them, especially EA. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't wait for Mass Effect 4. It could be crap in a box and I'm buying it.
You and I both.
But that's basically all they did was say, Mass Effect 4, here's a couple of pictures of what it may look like in 8 years when it comes out.
Oh, by the way, we're doing a new IP.
And there's the new IP, and I'm not even going to tell you what genre it is.
But it's set in a contemporary setting.
Yeah. And it's just,
but Mass Effect 4, you and I both will be purchasing that one. I'm actually hopeful that 1, 2, and 3 do get re-released. And we once reported about a couple months ago that there had been a box art already made. Whether or not it has, I'm hopeful that it will be released. As far as a bundle 3 set, I wouldn't mind delving into the world. I think it's about time for me to delve into the world of Shepard one more time. So,
yes,
I've only played Mass Effect half a dozen times. I finished it half a dozen times. So, still like those elevators. Anyways, so E3, like I said, E3 was
the elevator boss.
Yes, E3 was
a letdown in mostly for me. This is in the 14 years. 2000, I think, was the first one I kind of followed. This is the worst one for me. The one where I was least excited coming out of it. Like I said, some of the Treehouse stuff changed that. And I think everybody should start doing more of that. Just here's the developer, here's this, go with it. And that feel of getting major hands-on time with the game, not tied to any one site, because most every website, you can tell, prefers one system over the other. And it's almost always the system that has the most advertising. So I'd like to see from Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Square, EA, Activision, some of them, just 8 hours a day of them sitting down playing their games.
Did you get a chance to view the PlayStation channel on YouTube? Because they do have some of that.
Not yet. I haven't.
They have some extended stuff. I believe still on their YouTube site. I was scanning it yesterday, so I may post that for our
But see, they didn't announce that during during their press conference. They didn't really make a big deal about it, so that I knew it was there. Well, Nintendo kind of did.
And Nintendo, like you said, introduced new aspects and new things in the Treehouse
They announced
format.
new IPs
whereas the PlayStation conversations and whereas the PlayStation video from the floor with the PlayStation reps, we're just simply a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of interviews, stuff that you already as a fan has seen. Like I said, you were intrigued primarily with Nintendo's Treehouse because they were introducing new things that had not been previously discussed or shown. So that's why I'm pretty sure that's why it endeared to you the most, if I'm not mistaken.
Because that's the E3 I remember from a decade ago. They came out on stage, they blew your mind with a trailer, and everybody went and talked about it. Mm-hmm. I've had the same group of gamer friends basically off and on for 15 years, and we're all kind of like, what was E3 this year? What made me sit up and go and look at it? And we all kind of found out that Treehouse was decent from, a diehard Nintendo fan that makes me look like I'm anti-Nintendo. And, we all went and looked, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is what everybody should be doing. Have your conference. Give us, 10 minutes of, here's the games we're going to show on Treehouse and more. Go take a look. And Nintendo did that. I didn't even know Sony had, that sit-down stuff.
Yeah. I think that's in E3 this year. It's just a
recovery from last year.
Well, recovery, yeah, from last year. Because last year, I think we
miserable
saw
for Microsoft.
Well, it just shows the importance of E3. Last year's,
of not screwing up at E3.
People questioned at this point in time if E3 is still number one. Gamescom is more popular only because of the fact that it's a public
Tokyo
event.
Game Show's not bad either.
Yeah, and PAX and all those other shows are great. CES is a more widely attended event. But in the games industry, there is still no other event like E3 because of the weight it holds. And I think last year's was such an example of that because, that 2 million difference, 2.5 million, 3 million, whatever you want to say as far as between the Sony and Microsoft at this point in time.
Completely reversed if Microsoft hadn't had their head up their ass last year.
Exactly. And
I hope this is a mature-rated podcast today.
Okay, for Twitch it is, for YouTube it is, but for MP3, since it's our general podcast, by the time this gets to MP3, it might be a beep or two in there. It's not a problem.
Or like 5 at least.
That's okay. You're not even in the realm of Corey as of yet. So, but like I said, I think this year everybody was just playing it safe, and they did not want to make the mistakes because they see E3 as still the preeminent event in all of gaming, and it is still
the one that gets the most coverage.
Yeah, by the outside journalism that are not in part of the gaming scene. It's the one that does, like you said, gets the most coverage from the Wall Street Journal, from CNBC, from CNN,
Time.
LA Times, what have you.
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, well, from all around the world, even,
Yes.
and I just think that everybody, was playing it safe and just keeping their cards close to the chest as far as what they were going to say and what they were going to do while at E3. And I think, unfortunately for gaming fans, they were expecting more and didn't get as such simply because of that safety nest that each publisher and each console manufacturer wanted to stay within.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody wants to make the mistake that Microsoft did and alienate your fan base completely. Even though a lot of the things that I thought were pretty cool, like you buy the game and you can play it with up to 4 friends and they don't even have to own the game.
Yeah.
Well, that is the reason that we lost the ability to trade in games. So when people complained and we got the ability to trade in games back easily, we lost that ability to play, with our friends like the old PC games in the late 90s, early 2000s with spawn copies of games. So, I mean, Microsoft, it feels like they didn't go to, what are they called for like focus groups, and say, what do you as a gamer like or not like about the ideas for our Xbox One?
Mm-hmm.
And they could have saved themselves some major heartache. Everybody's all afraid of always online, DRM, things like that. But I think people could have lived with that if Microsoft wouldn't have said, oh yeah, you can't trade your games in unless you go to specific retailers at the same time. I think they tried to bite the entire apple instead of just a piece of the apple,
Yeah, exactly.
They were trying to jump 3 generations ahead with what they were going to do to protect publishers, because if that were the case, they would have so many exclusive games.
Yes, indeed.
Because publishers would be in love with them. And, oh, speaking of something Nintendo can do to save their ass, go buy Capcom. Go buy 51% of Capcom. Resident Evil, bring back old school Mega Mans. Oh my God, that would just people would buy a system for a good Resident Evil.
It definitely could be the case right there, because I know it is available.
It is possible.
Yes, yes. So with that, before we head on out, I did want to discuss one of the major conventions for this summer. And no, I'm not talking about EVO, which unfortunately has made the mistake of not even allowing fans to go in free the first 2 days of the event, like in previous incarnations. But now they're wanting to charge everybody, so which kind of I know has set a lot of people through the internet. I'm not even going to discuss things such as PAX or Gamescom later this year. The Classic Gaming Expo, which GameSource will be at later this year, we do want to make a shout out to them, but we'll be doing something a little bit later on in the summer in regards to featuring them. That's coming up later this year. Look for that information off our website at yourgamesource.com. We have a link right to it where you can get tickets for that. But for right now, I want to focus this weekend. It's the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. If you have not gotten that full Comic-Con fix from the Comic-Con San Diego, or you find it too hard to get into because the tickets sell out like that, the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con is coming to the South Point this weekend. It's going to be a barn burner, just like it was last year. Steph Tafu covered that last year, along with Anna MegaCon, and she really liked the Las Vegas Comic-Con event last year. And our good friend Aaron is actually going to give it a shot this year at covering it. Aaron, tell me your thoughts on what you're looking forward and seeing and doing at the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con coming this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to the South Point Casino and Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada.
I'm hoping to see video game comic books. That's all. That's really all the comic books I read. So I'm hoping a couple of them are going to be there. Always like going around to see the local artists in Artist Alley. I've actually already set up a. I'm not going to say a meeting in the sense of the word that you want, but I've talked to some people, and I'm going to go, see their booths, things like that. I don't know. Comic book conventions that are, I don't want to say small, but on a more local scale, whereas, San Diego Comic Con is on a global scale. Uh, they're so chill. They're so much fun to go to. And just hang out and talk with people. Because it's the only time a lot of people get to geek out. They're not quite like... They're not quite like me who, I'm going to go online and talk with people that are like me and totally into something. They're scared of it. But one weekend a year they go to, their local comic event and just are, crazy. Not like party crazy, but like, they do their dress ups, and they're not going to be the high production value that we see on Heroes of Cosplay or anything. But that's the only chance these people get to do it, other than maybe Halloween. And getting to see a lot of that is what really I enjoy going to conventions like that for. More so than going to, a big one like E3 or Comic-Con or BlizzCon or something of those scale.
Which you'll be attending later this year, BlizzCon.
Yes, I will be. And I'll be taking one of my friends with me, too, so maybe we get a second opinion. I haven't quite convinced him yet.
Hopefully we can contact them to get you some press passes, but that's another story.
Well, I've got 2 normal tickets, so we're going regardless, but...
Fair enough.
The I don't want to say smaller, because it's not really... it's not like the one I went to in Ohio last year where there were like 2,000 people. This is bigger than that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's still going to have that local feel to it where you get the local artists and things like that. And some of those people are just amazing. And the celebrities that do show up to it, they're more open because, everything they do isn't being micromanaged by some big sponsoring company. They're a lot freer with what they say. They feel more like your friend or the high school quarterback more than, you go to Comic-Con and everybody is just so robotic, it feels like, and they only say what they're allowed to say. A lot of times at the smaller ones, people slip up and say something they weren't supposed to. Like they're doing a voice for, this cartoon series that's being brought in, and that's the first announcement of it. Or they've got a run on the new whatever comic book. And so I kind of like some of that because people are so laid back at them that it doesn't feel corporate.
And I did want to add, while we're on Amazing Las Vegas Comic Con, that on our site at www.yourgamesource.com, Steph DeFoo, before she and Super Pouring left to Germany, like I said, she covered it last year, and she just released an article last week to her page, Steph DeFoo, at yourgamesource.com, regarding the Las Vegas Comic Con and what she was hopefully, people are going to get out of it, and that they should miss it if you're in and around the Las Vegas area. Some of the guests that have been mentioned, like Jim Lee, George Perez, Rob Liefeld, Steve Epting, Adam Kubert, Len Wein, Herb Trimpe, Jim Valentino, Joe Rubenstein. That there's just a ton of different people related into the comic book industry that are going to head on over there. There's also going to be a lot of events in and around the Comic-Con itself, including Sunday, which which I know is a great day to go because that's the costume parade. If you have kids, kids I believe under 12 are free, and it just really looks like it's going to be a great time. For information, want to head on over to either her article on yourgamesource.com or the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con.com. It's just really just going to be a great time. I know you're looking forward to it. Will you be taking pictures so people maybe around the world might get a better glimpse of what it's like? Is that going to be possible?
It'll be on my cell phone.
That's
and I'm not a picture fan, so it's going to have to be something absolutely amazing. So don't hold your breath, people, but there may be a couple of pictures.
And it's kids 10 and under are free with a paid adult. Just wanted to correct that. So, but it's taking place, this weekend, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd at the South Point Hotel and Casino. Tickets are available through the South Point box office or go to AmazingLasVegasComicCon.com. If you have trouble finding it, head on over to YourGameSource.com. Just click right on the front page. We have a really nice ad on there. You just click right on that right in there's a picture of the actual Las Vegas Comic-Con motif, as it were, with all the superheroes there. You just click on that, and it's going to take you right there. Single day tickets start as low as $25, and then you can also get, depending on exactly what you want, VIP things of that nature. It goes up from there. So you want to check that out for any pricing packages and things of that nature. So I hope everyone gets a chance here in the Las Vegas area, or if you want to come to the Las Vegas area during this weekend, check it out. I know tickets are still available, and hotel arrangements are always available here in Las Vegas. That's the great thing. That's the great thing about Vegas. But I do want to thank the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con on the air for allowing Aaron to cover the event and allowing him a press pass to the event. So I want to thank them publicly for doing so. I hope you do take at least a couple of pictures and send them over, just so that people can get in the experience and ambiance of what it's like to see a rising Comic-Con like the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con, so that they can just get that feel of what it's like to be there. And then also, in the future, I hope we can get your thoughts either in an article or on another podcast. Exactly what your thoughts were on the event as a whole. If that sounds okay to you, sir.
Oh, I'll definitely do something. It depends on how amazing it is. If I go and it blows my mind, I'll probably do a podcast. If I go and it's, only really good, I know only is not the right word there, but if it's only really good, I'll probably just type something up. But if it blows my mind, I'll get a podcast out there for people.
I'm sure you'll let me know. So.
Oh yeah, you'll know probably Sunday night, Monday, what I'm gonna do and
fair enough.
How long it'll take me, like always. And if you are going, bring your 3DS. I will be street tagging people. Not that anybody really wants me, but that's there will be other cool people that have them there as well.
That's true. And if you see him on the floor, and you're a follower from GameSource, just say hi.
I'll be wearing the hat that's in my logo.
Yes. Look for the Ohio State cap that you see right here. Aaron will be out and about. Just say hello, and because we're always glad. Everybody from GameSource, we're always glad to see people and meet people that do enjoy our site, and we're really appreciative of any support that we get. So. I think on that note, I think that's going to wrap things up for this evening, or this podcast. Podcast number 98, I believe. So we're getting close to the big 100. Hopefully we'll do something special.
So we're catching up to Gerald's age. I'm sorry, was that out loud?
That's okay. Nick cuts me down all the time, but that's another story. That's fine. I can handle it.
You're not the only one getting up there.
This is true. As I said before, you were close behind me. So, close enough behind me.
Yes.
This is once again the Games
It's nice
Podcast.
to be the youngest in the podcast for once.
Yes.
I think this is the only time that can ever happen. I think everyone else is younger than me.
This is true. So for me, Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Les, and
This is Aaron, OSU Water Polo.
we want to thank you for listening to the YourGameSource.com Game Source Podcast number 98. We thank you for listening, and it's another beautiful evening in paradise. You have a great one now.